My parents excluded me from the family reunion after 10 years of total silence. Then they walked into my beach house. I didn't yell. I just watched them freeze. Hey Reddit, let me introduce myself. My name is Rachel. I'm 33 years old, and for over a decade, my life had been a chapter closed to my parents. There were no messages, no birthday wishes, not even a shred of acknowledgement that I still existed. 10 long years passed since our last interaction, which had ended in flames, words sharp enough to scar, and doors that slammed shut without promise of reopening. I was 22 back then, full of hope and determination, a recent graduate clinging to a Boston job opportunity like a lifeline. But instead of cheers and pride, I was met with condemnation. My family, deeply traditional and rooted in the Southern expectations of South Carolina, saw my move as a direct rebellion. A woman, they believed, belonged close to home, married by her early 20s, attending church faithfully, raising children, and never daring to stray farther than the next town over. So, when I declared that I wanted a career, that I dreamed of traveling, and, worst of all, that I had fallen in love with a man who didn't fit their mold, it was like lighting a match to a room filled with gasoline. My father exploded first, calling me a disgrace. My mother followed, sobbing about how I had lost my moral compass. But I stood firm and told them about Daniel, not from our race, not from our religion, but everything my heart knew was right. That was the last straw. I was cast out, silenced with nothing but the echo of a slamming door and 10 years of absence that followed. Despite it all, I tried to reconnect. I sent cards, letters, emails so full of raw, vulnerable words that they dripped with hope. But each one vanished into the void. And eventually, so did my hope. I stopped reaching out. I stopped needing their validation. I poured myself into my work, into the business I built from the ground up, a travel company that took off after one viral video and a handful of strategic partnerships. I moved to California, bought a beach house with floor-to-ceiling windows, and watched the ocean heal what my parents had tried to shatter. Then came the call from Lily, my cousin, the first voice from the past that didn't make me flinch. She said there was a reunion, my grandmother's 90th birthday. Everyone would be there. Even then, she added, I wasn't really wanted. Aunt Dana had brushed off the idea of inviting me, but Grandma had asked. That stung in a way I didn't expect. I loved my grandmother. She was the only one who had ever sent me handwritten notes, always short, always sweet, and always signed with a little crooked heart. I hung up with Lily, told her I'd think about it, then watched my family's smiling faces light up my social feed days later. They had their celebration without me. I was nowhere in the tags, nowhere in the stories. Just gone. I stood at my window with a glass of wine that night, the waves crashing softly outside, and felt the last remnants of grief turn into something colder, something final. I didn't want them anymore. Not in my heart. Not in my life. 3 days later, they showed up. My doorbell rang. I answered, expecting a package or a neighbor. Instead, it was my mother, father, and younger brother Aaron, the family that had banished me now standing on my porch as if dropping by was a casual affair. I didn't speak. They said they were in town and wanted to see me. I moved aside wordlessly, letting them enter not from grace, but shock. They walked into my home as if they had a right to it, admiring the open spaces, the view of the ocean, the tasteful art on the walls. No hugs. No apologies. Just observations and awkward smiles. My father mentioned the reunion as if I had missed it voluntarily. My mother said Grandma had cried for me. And when I asked them if they meant the reunion I wasn't invited to, the silence that followed was all the confirmation I needed. Then my father spoke again. Something about starting fresh, as if a decade could be erased with a polite conversation. They didn't realize I wasn't the girl they left behind. I was a woman now. A wife. A business owner. A survivor of their rejection. And when I mentioned my husband, Daniel, the man they had once refused to acknowledge, their faces twitched in disbelief. Married 3 years, I told them. Not that you'd know. You never responded to the invite. They couldn't speak. I didn't need them to. I let them sit in the uncomfortable silence they had created. Eventually, they left. My father mumbled something about being proud. My mother gave a weak smile. Aaron couldn't even look me in the eye. As the door closed behind them, I didn't feel broken. I felt whole. Daniel joined me moments later, coffee in hand, barefoot and gentle. He didn't need me to explain. He knew. He had been the one who stayed when I couldn't breathe through the pain. We talked that evening, the way couples do, when they've weathered enough storms to know what matters. I told him about Grandma, about the reunion, about how my parents had looked around our home with eyes full of everything but love. He listened without interruption. Then I received a message, no name, no context, just, "It was good to see you. Maybe we can talk again sometime." I deleted it instantly. Instead, I focused on what mattered. I flew to Charleston. I visited Grandma. She welcomed me with tears in her eyes, hugged me like the years hadn't passed. We sat in her sunroom, drinking sweet tea, talking about everything from health to hope. She gave me a locket, a family heirloom with tiny initials etched inside. It was a gift, a piece of my roots that had always belonged to me, no matter what they tried to strip away. 3 days after I returned home, she passed. Peacefully, quietly, as if she had been waiting to see me one last time. At the funeral, I spoke. I didn't do it for them. I did it for her. I told everyone that love shouldn't have conditions. That Grandma had loved me when others wouldn't. I meant every word. My mother approached me after. She apologized. For the first time in my life, she said, "We were wrong." And maybe she meant it. But I told her, healing wasn't a sentence. It was a journey I had already begun. Aaron wrote to me later. His apology was different, raw, real. We talk occasionally now. Slowly. Honestly. As for my parents, they haven't reached out again. And that's okay. Because forgiveness doesn't always mean letting people back in. Sometimes it means letting go for good. And when they walked into my home, expecting the daughter they had once disowned, what they found was a woman. Unapologetic, unshaken, and complete without them. I didn't have to raise my voice. I didn't have to say a word. I just let them sit with the silence they had spent 10 years creating.